All right, so are you ready to flip?
I think I am.
Okay, good, because today we're going deep on flipped.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, this book by Wendelin Van Draanen, it's so smart the way she tells the whole story from both Bryce and Julie's point of view.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you get both sides, you know?
Yeah, you really get inside their heads.
And, like, how they see each other, like how Julie's totally crushing on Bryce,
Mm-hmm.
but Bryce is, like, trying to avoid her at all costs.
Well, I mean, who hasn't been there, right? Like, in middle school, it's all about trying to fit in.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You're figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
Who you want to be.
Totally. And so you're like, who do I want to be seen with?
Right, exactly.
And it's all, like, amplified in middle school.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
2nd grade. Julie Baker sees Bryce Loski, and it's like, bam!
Instant crush.
Yeah. She describes holding his hand, and it's like the world melts away.
Oh, yeah. You can just feel that intensity.
Yeah. And I think the book does a really good job
Mm-hmm.
of, like, showing how we build up these whole stories in our heads.
Yes. Especially with first crushes, it's like this whole fantasy world.
Right. And Julie's definitely creating this whole narrative about Bryce.
Oh, for sure. She's totally idealizing him.
But Bryce, on the other hand, is completely freaking out.
Well, yeah, he's in 2nd grade.
I know.
And he's got this girl who's, like, obsessed with him.
He's hiding in his closet to avoid her.
Yeah, it's classic avoidance behavior.
Totally. And then there's that whole thing with Shelley Stalls.
Oh my gosh, Shelley Stalls.
Julie can't stand her.
Right. And Bryce knows it.
So of course he tries to use Shelley to get Julie to back off.
Yeah, like if I'm hanging out with the girl you hate the most, then you'll leave me alone.
Exactly. It's so middle school.
It's such a classic middle school maneuver.
But of course it totally backfires.
Oh, it always does.
Which makes it even funnier.
Oh, yeah. Van Draanen is so good at capturing those awkward social dynamics.
Yeah, like how our attempts to control things just blow up in our faces.
Exactly. And it usually makes things worse.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about the sycamore tree.
Ah, the sycamore tree.
So for Julie, this tree is like her sanctuary.
It's her escape.
Yeah, she climbs up there to get away from everything.
It's her place of peace.
Totally. And then one day it's just gone.
Yeah, they cut it down.
I know. And Julie is devastated.
Well, it's more than just a tree to her right.
It's like a symbol of something bigger.
Yeah, it's like her connection to nature, to something beyond herself.
Right. And when it's cut down, it's like part of her is lost, too.
It's a loss of innocence almost.
Yeah, like a realization that the world can be a cool place.
Mm-hmm. And that sometimes things happen that are beyond our control.
And it's interesting how she fights so hard to save the tree.
Oh, yeah, she climbs way up to the top,
I know, and refuses to come down.
even when they're trying to cut it down.
Yeah, it's like she's clinging to this last bit of childhood.
It's a powerful image.
But then there's this really touching moment where Bryce's dad paints a picture of the sycamore tree for Julie.
Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful scene.
Yeah, and it's kind of unexpected because up until now, Bryce's dad has seemed kind of distant.
Yeah, he's not really involved.
Right, but then he does this incredibly thoughtful thing.
Yeah, it's like he understands Julie's grief.
And in a way that even Bryce doesn't.
Exactly. It shows that there's more to him than meets the eye.
Right, and it makes you wonder why he's able to connect with Julie in this way.
Yeah, like what is it about him that allows him to see her so clearly?
Maybe it's his artistic side.
Maybe.
Or maybe he's just a really good observer of people.
Could be.
Okay, so now let's get to the egg saga.
The eggs.
I know this is where things start to get really good.
This is where the drama starts.
So for years, Julie has been delivering fresh eggs to the Loskis.
Every week. She's so proud of these eggs.
Well, yeah, she thinks it's this grand gesture of friendship.
And it is like, it's such a sweet gesture.
So innocent.
Yeah. But then we find out that Bryce and his family have been throwing those eggs away.
The whole time.
They're terrified of salmonella.
Yeah, they're like totally paranoid. But they're too scared to hurt Julie's feelings to tell her.
Oh, it's classic miscommunication.
Right. They're both operating under these completely different assumptions.
And neither of them knows what the other one is thinking.
So Julie thinks she's doing this nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Bryce's family is like, oh my God, what are we going to do with all these eggs?
And it just keeps escalating.
It does. She keeps bringing more eggs.
Oh, yeah. She's determined to win Bryce over with her amazing eggs.
And Bryce is getting more and more desperate to get rid of them.
He's like sneaking around trying to throw them away without her noticing.
It's hilarious and a little bit sad.
It's a comedy of errors.
Totally.
And it all comes down to this fear of communication.
Of just being honest with each other.
And that's something we see play out throughout the whole book.
For sure, like how our own fears and anxieties prevent us from connecting with other people.
Yeah, we get so caught up in our own heads that We miss what's right in front of us.
Exactly.
And that's something I think a lot of people can relate to.
Especially in those awkward middle school years.
Oh, yeah.
But even as adults,
Absolutely.
like we all have those moments where we're afraid to say what we really think.
Or to ask for what we need.
Yeah, and it's usually those unspoken things that cause the most trouble.
Exactly. They fester and grow until they become these big obstacles.
So Flipped is really a story about communication.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
About how we connect with each other.
Or fail to connect.
Right, and how those connections or lack thereof shape who we are.
Really?
So what happens next?
Well, let's just say things get even more complicated.
Oh, I can't wait to dive into that.
Me neither.
But we'll have to save that for next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Because we're out of time for today.
All right.
But join us again next week.
Yeah, we'll pick up right where we left off.
And we'll see what happens when those unspoken things finally come to light.
That's going to be good.
Okay. Until then, keep flipping those pages.
Or listening to those audiobooks.
And we'll catch you next time on the deep dive.
See you then.
Okay, so last time we left off with Julie's eggs.
Oh, yeah, the egg saga.
And Bryce and his family are like low-key freaking out about salmonella.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how they're so paranoid about it.
Right, but they won't just tell Julie?
Nope, they just keep throwing those eggs away.
And Julie's totally clueless.
She thinks she's doing this nice thing for them.
I know. It's such a classic example of how we can totally misinterpret each other's actions.
Yeah, we get so caught up in our own perspectives.
And then it all comes crashing down when Julie catches Bryce in the act.
Oh, man. That scene where she sees him tossing those eggs in the trash.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. You can just feel her world shattering.
She finally realizes that Bryce isn't who she thought he was.
And for Bryce, it's like a wake-up call.
Yeah, he finally sees Julie as a real person with real feelings.
He sees her cry for the first time.
And it's like something shifts in him.
It's the beginning of empathy.
Right, he starts to understand the impact of his actions.
And he feels guilty.
But it's not just about the eggs.
No, it's about something bigger.
It's about how we see each other.
And how we judge each other.
It's how we judge each other. Like with Julie's yard.
Oh, yeah. Bryce's family is so judgmental about that yard.
They think it's a reflection of her family.
They think they're lazy or something.
Yeah, they're all about appearances.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
But then we learn the truth about why Julie's yard is the way it is.
It's because they're struggling financially.
They're putting all their money towards helping Julie's Uncle David.
Who has special needs.
Right, and it challenges the reader to question those initial judgments.
To look beyond the surface.
Because things aren't always what they seem.
And it's Bryce's grandfather, Chet, who really helps him see that.
Chet's such a cool character.
He's so wise.
And he's not afraid to speak his mind.
He sees the good in people.
Like he sees the good in Julie.
He recognizes her strength and her spirit.
And he helps Bryce to see it too.
Remember those scenes where they're working together in the yard?
Yeah, it's like Chet becomes this mentor figure for Julie.
He teaches her about gardening.
About life.
About finding beauty in imperfection.
And he also challenges Bryce's worldview.
He pushes him to think differently.
To see things from Julie's perspective.
And to question his own family's values.
Which is a big deal for Bryce.
Yeah, he's starting to realize that maybe his family isn't so perfect after all.
That maybe there's more to life than just appearances.
And that maybe Julie is actually pretty cool.
But Bryce is still struggling with his own feelings.
He's attracted to Julie.
But he's also confused and conflicted.
He's carrying around all this baggage.
His family's prejudices.
His own insecurities.
There's a guilt over the egg incident.
It's a lot for a middle schooler to deal with.
And then there's that whole basket boy auction scene.
Oh, boy.
Talk about awkward.
It's so cringy.
Bryce suddenly realizes he has feelings for Julie.
And he tries to kiss her.
In front of everyone.
And she totally rejects him.
It's a disaster.
But it's also a turning point.
Because in that moment of rejection, Bryce finally flips.
He realizes that his feelings for Julie are real.
It's more than just a crush.
He's actually fallen for her.
And he's determined to win her over.
Even though she's made it pretty clear she's not interested.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle.
But hey, love is a battlefield, right?
I guess so.
So what do you think?
I think things are about to get really interesting.
Me too. Let's see what happens next.
It's like, even though they both go through all this drama,
Oh, yeah.
they still end up right back where they started.
Kinda.
But like with a deeper understanding of each other.
And themselves.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this book so satisfying.
Hmm.
Like you see them grow and change.
Do you see how their relationship evolves?
Even if it doesn't end with a perfect Hollywood ending.
Right. It's more realistic that way.
Yeah, because real life is messy.
It is.
And relationships are complicated.
Especially in middle school.
Oh, yeah.
When everything feels so intense.
Like those first crushes.
The awkwardness.
The drama.
It's all there and flipped.
But it's not just about the drama.
Yeah. There's a lot of heart in this book, too.
Yeah, like with Julie's family.
They're dealing with some real challenges.
But they're also so loving and supportive.
And they have this amazing resilience.
And I think that's something that really resonates with readers.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that even when things are tough,
you can still find joy and beauty in the world.
And in the people around you.
And that's what Chet represents.
Yeah, he's like this beacon of wisdom and kindness.
He sees the good in everyone.
And he helps Bryce and Julie to see the good in each other.
He's like the heart of the story.
In a way, yeah.
So what do you think is the biggest takeaway from Flipped?
For me, it's the importance of perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Like how we see things is so influenced by our own experiences.
And our biases.
And our fears.
So it's important to try to see things from other people's point of view.
To step outside of our own heads.
And to have empathy.
Exactly.
And that's something that Bryce and Julie both learn throughout the book.
Sometimes the hard way.
But they learn it.
And that's what matters.
So if you're looking for a book that will make you laugh.
And cry.
And think.
And maybe even flip your own perspective.
Then Flipped is definitely worth a read.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Flipped.
It's been fun.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.
See ya.